News 4 at 11 starts now.
Good evening. First up tonight on News 4 I-Team investigation, a high school teacher arrested and charged for what he did in his classroom.
Then a disturbing past revealed. It's never been made public until now. Uncovered by Scott McFarland and our I-Team.
Inside Randallstown High School, Baltimore County. Brad Norton taught English. And one morning, 4 years ago this week, a 10th grade student said Norton sexually assaulted him inside the classroom. According to the police report, the 15-year-old said Norton touched him on the chest, beneath his shirt, then touched his penis. Arrested, booked, charged, Norton pleaded guilty to assault and a fourth-degree sex offense in court. The victim's father, whom we're not identifying, said the case had an enormous impact on their family.
Unfortunately, I think people naively assume that educators are there to protect our kids, and far too often we see they're not.
Jennifer Alvaro is a Maryland community activist who counsels sex offenders and has pushed for tougher background checks on educators.
Abuse is relentlessly democratic. It happens in all socioeconomic classes, all races, all religions, all neighborhoods, all education levels.
Thing is, this was no common case, and Brad Norton was no common teacher. He had a secret down the road in Virginia. A secret now being made public by the I-Team. In 2004, he was teaching English here, Hayfield Secondary, Fairfax County Public Schools, but only briefly, because in 2004, he was arrested. And we found the details are strikingly similar. According to school district records, Norton was accused of rubbing his hands over a student's penis and touching the boy's buttocks while in his classroom. Arrested, booked, charged, Fairfax County Schools allowed Norton to resign. He pleaded guilty to assault, avoided jail time, but was ordered not to work again in a job in which he'd interact with children. In this document obtained by the News 4 I-Team, Fairfax County Public Schools formally notified Norton it would recommend the state education department revoke his teaching license. Doing so would help red flag Norton nationwide in a database called NASDAQ. His license revoked, he'd be unable to work at public schools, not just in Virginia, but other states too. Yet Norton managed to get that teaching job years later in Baltimore County. How? David Foster is former president of the Virginia State Board of Education, which votes to revoke licenses.
Something went wrong for this to happen because the whole system is designed to prevent this happening.
The I-Team found answers inside internal school district memos and emails, which show Fairfax County Public Schools failed to follow through. Failed to send the necessary paperwork to suspend Norton's license to the State Department of Education in Richmond, the agency charged with formally revoking the licenses. The State Department of Education even sent this reminder letter and a handwritten note in March 2005, which said no action, no license revocation can occur until Fairfax sends over the necessary paperwork. The state has to get notification from the school district.
Correct.
The state says it received no written response. So Norton's license remained intact, and he was not red flagged, not immediately disqualified before he applied for the job in Baltimore County. After Norton's arrest in Baltimore County in 2012, that school district called Fairfax with questions about their former teacher. Shortly after, a Fairfax County schools administrator wrote this email obtained by the I-Team to the Virginia Department of Education asking, "Can you advise if you have any record of a license cancellation for Bradley Jefferson Norton? It is not listed on the agency website." A state administrator wrote back, "No, it was not received, and it would need to be submitted to us by the school division," meaning by Fairfax County Schools.
I'll entertain a motion to revoke the license of Bradley Jefferson Norton. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Not until 2013, 9 years after his arrest there, did Fairfax Schools finally submit the necessary paperwork to the state board to revoke Brad Norton's teaching license. Fairfax County Public Schools declined to answer questions about why Brad Norton slipped through the cracks, instead sending us a statement that, for legal reasons, it can't comment on specific personnel matters and that it's since changed the process it uses for teacher license revocations and now files all of the necessary paperwork to revoke a license in an expedited manner. For weeks, we tried to talk to Brad Norton, but no one answered the door inside his Washington, D.C. home. By phone, he declined to comment. Jennifer Alvaro says she worries his case won't be the last of its kind.
Local communities, you're arguing, sometimes drop the ball.
Frequently drop the ball.
Just don't do what they're supposed to do.
Correct.
Virginia law has since changed. The state education department needn't wait for a school district to send in paperwork to revoke a teacher's license anymore if it knows of a potentially dangerous teacher. But because Fairfax County Schools refused to answer our questions about what went wrong in 2004, we're going to keep checking to see if there are other similar cases yet to be discovered. We've also created an interactive timeline of this intricate case. You can see it in our NBC Washington app. Jim and Doreen.
Wow, a lot more to come on this. Scott McFarland. Scott, thanks so much.
Thank you, Scott. A local school district drops the ball again. Weeks ago, we told you about a teacher who admitted to assaulting a student who escaped with his teaching license intact and then found a new job in a different district and struck again.
Fairfax County Public Schools told the News 4 I-Team there were no other licenses in question like that, but the I-Team found that's not the case.
Tonight, Scott McFarland uncovers other teachers accused of sexual misconduct whose licenses languished for years.
To protect his daughter's identity, Richard asked we not show his face.
I feel there's an institutional pattern to sweep it under the table.
His daughter went to West Potomac High in 2005 and reported to school officials her teacher touched her inappropriately, groping her buttocks 10 times. 2 of her classmates accused the teacher too.
She had the least of the problems with the guy. Her friends got it worse.
A school district memo obtained by the News4 I-Team called the behavior grossly unprofessional. The teacher was charged with assault and fired. Yet the I-Team found Fairfax schools failed to send in the paperwork to Virginia state officials as required to revoke the man's teaching license until 2012, 7 years later. Richard told us he thinks he knows why.
Their image, to keep it out of the news.
You don't think it might have been just an accident or an oversight?
No, they're avoiding transparency.
The I-Team discovered what can happen when a school district fails to ensure a teacher who sexually exploits a kid loses his license. In 2004, Brad Norton, an English teacher in Fairfax, was arrested and pleaded guilty to assaulting a male student in his classroom. Fairfax County Public Schools notified Virginia Education Department officials it intended to revoke Norton's license to keep him from teaching again. But earlier this year, we found the school district didn't follow through. Norton's license remained intact for years, allowing him to land another teaching job in 2007 near Baltimore, where police arrested him a second time for sexually assaulting another student. He pleaded guilty to that crime, too. At the time, in a written statement, the school district said it was unaware of any other similar cases in the past decade. And Fairfax's then school superintendent told our David Culver the same thing.
How confident are you that no one else has fallen through the cracks?
Very confident.
Not only did we find Richard's case, though, the News4 I-Team found 2 more cases. 2 more Fairfax teachers who slipped through the cracks. What's more, we found the school district knew about them and didn't tell us the full story. It took them almost 5 years to provide the paperwork needed to cancel the license of an Annandale teacher who pleaded guilty to contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And then there's the case of another West Potomac High teacher charged with indecent exposure outside a local mall in 2004. Investigators said they found he had inappropriate photos of his female students, of their breasts and buttocks. It wasn't until a few months ago, 12 years after his arrest, his license was found languishing.
It's problematic if any school division has that situation.
And it wasn't found by Fairfax schools, but by Nancy Walsh, an investigator with the Virginia Department of Education in Richmond, who spotted the case while pulling records for our I-Team report. Is it problematic if licenses are let languishing for 6-7 years before they're revoked?
Definitely. If there is a basis for action against a license and any time passes before the action is taken, that whole interim period is troubling.
We wanted to know why these mistakes were being made over the past decade and asked Fairfax schools to talk to their current superintendent. Instead, they provided us a human resources official. Do we know why it took years?
I've been here since January. I can't speak a lot to the previous practices. What I can tell you is about 2013, FCPS took a hard look at our processes, and from that point forward, we've been proactive in gathering information on our end and then sending that to VDOE so they can make those decisions.
Chase Ramey couldn't tell us what happened in 2013 to cause the change.
We're again going through our records again to make sure that we are aware and that we provided all the appropriate information on all those cases. No, we do not believe there's any more of those cases in FCPS.
Would you be surprised if there were more out there we don't know about yet?
Oh, I expect it.
We haven't found out yet if any of these individuals were able to get new teaching jobs like Brad Norton did. He declined to comment about his case to the I-Team, but we plan to keep digging, and if you know of any cases we should be investigating, send us an email by going to NBCWashington.com and clicking on Investigations. Jim and Dory, we will keep looking.
Let's hope so. That's a troubling question, and we appreciate that. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.